Hello. I'm not going to lie, I'm actually really nervous to be up here, so if I stutter, I am so sorry. But a little introduction, I'm Savannah Ennis. My brother's the one back there on the drums, usually it's my dad, and my mom's the one up there doing all the words for you guys. So that's a little bit about me. I'm here this morning. I wanted to talk to you guys about my personal testimony and how God really has changed my life and what he's done. So for most of my life, for all of my life, I grew up in church. I've been in this church specifically since I've been in second grade. So I've been around here a really long time. And because of that, it grew very easy in my older ages to know how to play church and know how to use it as kind of like a clique. I got saved, or what I thought was saved, when I was 11 years old. I was up in kids' church, and the pastor said, if anybody wants to be saved, he said, you can repeat this prayer after me. And so I did, and I raised my hand, and he took me back and explained to me everything that I had thought I had just done. And that's what I thought saved me. There's nothing wrong with saying a prayer or repeating after what the pastor says, but you have to mean it in your heart, and you have to make that change. And I didn't know. I was young and didn't understand that. Last year, in July, I began to start feeling this conviction that I didn't understand because I had never been saved. So I was kind of fighting it. And honestly, I thought it was the devil. I thought he was telling me, trying to pull me back and trying not to let God work in me. But in our reality, I was fighting the Lord. And I didn't realize that. Throughout all of this, I was having these questions in my head like, well, have you changed at all? Have you really become more like Christ? And I would push these thoughts and these questions to the back of my head, kind of just thinking, well, I go to church. I read my Bible forcefully, if I was honest back then. I did all of these things. I did all the churchy things. I did all the things that people expected me to do because that's what I grew up in. I grew up in church. So I had all these thoughts and all these things at the back of my head. And at the time, I was actually reading through Ephesians, which is really funny because in Ephesians 2, 8, and 9, it talks about how by grace you are saved, not of your own works so that no one can boast. So I read that and I was like, it's totally the devil. He's the one telling me that. Yeah, it's definitely the devil telling me that. So I was going through all of this, and July 3rd is actually of 2018 is when it really began to become the conviction in my life. Again, I had all these thoughts and all these things like pushed to the back of my head. I was telling myself, I go to church, I'm a Christian. I was trying to justify my entire salvation by my works and by the things that I did, the outward appearance of myself. But in all reality, my inward soul was unsaved. I had no clue of what it was like to be saved because I had justified everything by what I was doing on the outside. So July 4th came around, and we did all of the stuff, out on the lake, tubing, and doing all the 4th of July activities. And we got to the point where we were watching the fireworks on the lake. And so I was sitting back in this little chair, and I was looking up at these fireworks, and I was thinking, instead of thinking how beautiful they were and how thankful I am to be in this country, I was thinking, if I died right now, where would I go? I didn't know. I had no idea, and I didn't realize that I didn't know this because I was continually wanting to please others and to please my mom and dad, who I knew loved the fact that I loved being in church. But in all reality, I didn't know God because I wanted to know God. I knew God because I knew everybody else wanted me to know God, or thought I knew God. It's not that I didn't love Jesus. I really did. I loved Jesus, and I yearned to have that relationship with him, of course, but I didn't start the relationship to begin with. So I wasn't growing at all. I wasn't becoming any more like Jesus, and I saw my friends growing, and I saw all of them being worked and seeds being planted in their lives and in others through them, and that wasn't happening to me. And so I yearned for that, but I tried at least to do it through my works and through the things that I could do by serving in the youth group or working at VBS or, doing all of this stuff. So I continued to fight this battle in my head. And July 5th is my spiritual birthday. That's the day that I got saved. It came around, July 5th came around, and that day when I woke up, I didn't feel any conviction. I didn't feel the devil, what I thought, telling me that I wasn't saved. And I sat up in my bed and I was like, yeah, devil, beat that, I just beat you. But in all reality, I didn't beat the devil. I didn't conquer him. I pushed back conviction so far, and it took me forever to realize this, but I sat up in my bed that morning and I felt so empty, because that hole in my heart that I was feeling can only be filled by Jesus, not by the works that I did, not by the people that I was around, not by how good I thought I was, not how good everybody else thought I was. It was only by Jesus. So that day, I laid down my life to the Lord. Praise God. I sobbed right there on my bed and gave everything to Jesus, and I was so thankful. I felt this incredible peace inside of me, but it doesn't stop there. We all know, those of us that are saved in here understand that the devil's going to try and get at you even harder after you're saved, because he knows that you're a child of God, and he knows that you have power over him now. So at that point, I was kind of nervous because I had gotten saved, and I was so happy and thankful for that. But like I said, I grew up in church, and I had gotten saved at 11 years old. So all these people were thinking that I was saved. My parents, my brother, the rest of my family, my church family, all thought that I was saved. And I was like, I can just keep it to myself. Like, I know that I'm saved. That's fine. I'm going to heaven. And that was wrong. That was wrong in my thinking. That actually, July 5th was the Thursday before the Sunday. Our church went through that huge revival. I don't know if y'all remember, Mr. Daniel Cruz came up here and told his testimony, and then a lot of people received salvation, which is great and which is awesome. And I had received Christ before then, and I still didn't have the confidence to come up and tell somebody, after all these people came down and humbled themselves in front of the entire church. And I still didn't do it. I still didn't tell anybody that I needed to be baptized, because if we are to walk in obedience, that is the next step for salvation. So I didn't tell anybody. And I went the rest of the week. And then the week after that, we went to Snowbird last year. And I still didn't say anything that week. And Friday came around, the Friday of Snowbird. There's a bunch of our girls, I'm sure there were boys too, but I was in the girls' cabin, that had gotten saved, And I was so happy for them, and I was so excited. And one that really got me, my best friend, Gracie, she came into the cabin, and everybody kind of got quiet. Me and her were looking at each other, and she told me that she got saved. And I was so happy for her, and I was so excited because she's experiencing what I just experienced, but nobody else knew. And so the Lord really hit me. He was like, Savannah, why are you ashamed? All these people in here are so happy to see what God's worked in you and what he's done in you. And I was like, I finally came out, I was like, you guys, I got saved. And they were like, woohoo! And they were all happy for me and stuff. And I called my mom again that night. It was like really late, y'all. It was like 2 a.m. I called her, poor thing. I FaceTimed her, and she answered. She was like, what are you doing calling me this late? And I was like, Mom, I got saved. And she was like, woo! And so we had like another rejoicing moment there. And it was just so happy. And throughout that, I got to watch, after telling everybody what had happened, I got to watch my baby brother get saved, my mom get saved, and then my dad get saved. My entire family was able to reach salvation, not because of me. It wasn't because of anything that I did. It was all because of Jesus, all because of what he did through the lives of others. And that's kind of why I'm up here. On Friday night, there was a speaker at camp. His name was Greg. He talked about, is Jesus worthy? He talked about, is he worthy of all of our praise? And is he worthy enough for us to tell others about him and what he's done? And one of the quotes that he said was, Jesus should be on display in our lives because it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about Jesus. It's about what he's done in my life. I just get to be the bearer of that news. And that should be so exciting to all of us. We shouldn't be worried, because I'm not going to lie, I was really nervous coming up here. But I humbled myself because Jesus did it. Because he did what he did in my life, and he should deserve all of the glory and all of, everything that we can give to him. And so that's why I'm really up here, is because I really believe that if everybody, including myself, if we sat down our pride, because I know we may not think that we are. I didn't think I was. But if we just set down our pride and just shared what Jesus did for us, I don't have some crazy testimony about how, like, the Lord had pulled me from addictions. I grew up in church, but someday this can be used to reach somebody else for Christ. And then they'll reach somebody else for Christ. And the kingdom will be growing just because we are humble enough to say what God did for us. So that's kind of why I'm up here. Thanks, y'all, for listening to me. That's really all I had to say. I didn't think about exiting, but...